Hello and welcome to the Newtype Arena Podcast, episode 4. My name is Ursa,
I'm Daxy.
And I'm Astral.
and today we're going to be talking about each of the color combinations that we have, how they play, and the breakdown of a lot of the meta decks that you tend to see with these color combinations. But first off, just a quick announcement as to the reason why we kind of had a lapse in videos and episodes last week. I was traveling. I went back home for a week, so I was not able to be part of the filming or editing. So we're back in it. We're going to get back on our regular release schedule and hopefully continue out from there. Of course, life comes up, but um,
Yeah, absolutely. And with us training for the new type challenge, it was
oh yeah.
just a crazy week in general, I think, for all of us.
Yeah, we've been super busy with that as well. So our schedules are tight, but we love doing these episodes. Love yapping about these cards. So we're going to continue doing that for as long as we have the bandwidth to do that, which is hopefully for
Yep.
a very long time. But anyway, let's move on. So let's open up the table, go around, and talk about how everyone's week in Gundam TCG has been. I guess for the past 2 weeks, since we have a bit more
Yeah.
time since our last episode, since we talked about this. But Daxi, why don't you start us off?
Yeah. So lots of training. Obviously, we had the new type challenge start up. With that, I went ahead and played in two events this week. First store event I went to in the morning, came in first, and it was a Swiss format, which I've never done before. So you play your 5 rounds, and then the top 8 out of those 5 rounds go against each other in a single elimination. That was really interesting to experience. I was able to go first all the way through the 5 rounds there, and then when it came to the top 8 single elimination, I came in third. Ended up getting paired with Astral
Sorry about that.
for the semifinals there. That was fun, especially with me surprisingly playing green white. I just had to play it for the challenge. Thanks for that, bro.
You're welcome.
Uh,
Yeah, you
and
guys
then we did a
both.
second one.
I was able to shadow that
Second,
game. You guys both played pretty well, though. So
I
Phenomenally well.
appreciate it.
Because
Yeah, everyone did a
for
really good job here.
for the deck you were playing and switching up your normal play style, you did a really good job.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And for you too with your new build. With that being the case, so we did go and do our favorite local, the car coupe, as well. Me and Astral going up in the finals. So we went up there for that before the single elims and got close, but I did some misplays. And I even think without the misplays, Astral still would have gotten it, but I feel like it was a lot closer of a match than the semifinals in the morning, that's for sure. So I was proud of myself for that, especially coming from the fact that Astral here, I swear, is the king when it comes to green white. And just no matter what kind of build it is, he just picks it up like it's nobody's business. But we did that, and then we went to top 8, and I thought it was going to be an easy match for that one. For the fifth place, and it was a guy I'd already beat in a round previous, but I just bricked opening hand, no blockers. It was against red, blue, pink, and I just got steamrolled. Turn 4, done. It was just
if you
over
can't
before it
if you
even
can't
started.
stabilize early, red blue ping is a very tough matchup. That's
Yeah, absolutely. But still looking forward to more events this week before I go on my little vacation. But I got two more new type challenges, and we're gonna see how we do. We're gonna try and get at least a couple more. Try and get two more of those Soletas. Maybe that aerial. Hoping for. I wanted to put it on my shelf, so see how that goes. But with that being said, what about you, Astral? How has your week been?
It's been busy. I kind of slacked a little bit when it came to my play testing that I'm normally used to doing. I was just busy again, like getting ready. I have a trip coming up as well. And so like with this week, it's been a bit more relaxed for me. But when it came to the new type challenge, I did something that I never thought I'd do. It wasn't the smartest move, but it paid off in the end. I completely switched my build. And, I've been playing green white. I still was playing green white, but it was a build that I built literally 20 minutes before the first new type challenge. And, I wasn't expecting to do well with it. Never play tested it, never really even seen it until before the tournament. Decided to give it a shot and ended up doing really well. Like you said, when we went to our first new type challenge, um, I ended up making it in the top 8, and then second in the Swiss draw format. So close to that winner's card. A little bit
Oh
disappointed in
man.
myself, but I still have a couple more tries to get it. And then, of course, we went to the card coop, and there I actually went undefeated in the tournament, and unfortunately got knocked out during the Swiss draw there as well. But it was really, really interesting to see how this new deck played. I'm not going to go into too much detail about it because I really do like how it plays. I made some edits myself to it that I noticed from our first tournament compared to our second. Really made some key differences in allowing me to stabilize late game, which was key in helping me win those matches. And so
Hmm.
like it's going to be interesting to see and how it plays, especially in the future. And I
Yeah.
know we have a couple things we're going to be talking about in the podcast today that I'm excited to talk about. But yeah, this week was busy. It was fun. It was full of excitement. So yeah, I really enjoyed this week. Now, Ursa, what about you? How was
Yeah.
your week with Gundam?
My week, very similar to you guys. We all went to the Card Coops Newtype challenge. I met some really funny and amazing characters in the community. There was
Hmm.
like, I mean, are we allowed to say there was a group of of guys between matches? They would just like go to the bar upstairs on top above Card Coop and like would do a
And take a
shot.
shot.
Yeah,
And then
so
run back.
and then run back for their next round. So they were awesome. They were all amazing. Everyone was having fun, for sure. But there was like that air of competitive spirit to the new type challenge,
Yeah.
which I thought was pretty awesome. It's kind of like going to be our taste going into what we expect regionals to be, where hopefully the community is just as fun, but at the core of it, we are just trying to play at the most professional level that we can. Um,
Hmm.
so it was just kind of cool to like see the duality of people like I'm here to have fun, have a good time, and the other half where they're here to have a good time as well, but they're there to win. And kind of it's cool to kind of see that mentality going into the tournament as
Yeah.
well. Beyond that, I have been slowly converting some people in my life. So I had a friend who's a coworker that I work with that I taught him Magic because he's always been interested in card games. So I was like, oh, here's like Magic. It's the most popular game right now. Let's just teach you kind of basic mechanics of card games. And then I was talking to him about the Gundam TCG and the podcast that we have. And he's like, I listen to you guys. I have no idea what you guys are talking about, but I'm having a good time. So I was like, well, let's change that. Why don't I teach you Gundam TCG? So on our lunch breaks, I've been bringing like 2 starter decks. He's been playing the Heroic Beginnings. I've been playing the Wing deck because those are the only two that I still have like as like vanilla, unchanged. Everything's like completely plain. And he's been
Hmm.
having a lot of fun with that. So um, amongst every single level of the game and the competitiveness of the deck, it's been a fun experience so far, even to new players like my coworker. But I want to throw that in and kind of give a shout out to him because we've been having a lot of fun. He's been making my lunch breaks a lot more exciting and looking forward to the days that he's in so that we can get a game in. And it's kind of fun to like kind of go back to the roots and play the STO decks that we all started off with in the beginning of this card game. Um,
Absolutely.
so yeah, that was my week. Oh, and then for the new type challenge, I did not great. I mean, I did not do as well as you two did. That's for sure. I was just shy of making the break for the Swiss draw, and then
Hmm.
so I was unable to make it, unfortunately.
Hey, but you still did good. You did better than half the players there.
That's true.
Yeah.
How many were there? There was 16, right? Or
28.
oh my gosh. Okay,
28.
28, and I
So
was ninth there. So,
yeah.
Yep.
I think I'm playing an
It was
unoptimized deck
only
though. Oh, yep.
It was only just due to what the OMW, just the win percentaging
Yeah,
of the
it
Bandai
was.
system.
I had the same win record as people who was able to bubble into the Swiss draw. So, fortunately, the people that I lost to didn't do as well as I needed them to to get into that
Yeah.
tournament, or to get into that second phase. But yeah, so that was that. I guess I did better than I thought I did. But the deck I'm playing, I'm kind of just sitting on it until STO5 comes out and we get access to purple, because I really am looking forward and wanting to play purple.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I'll try and bring it to regionals and just like cram in as much games as I can in that week after it releases to when we have to be playing it for real.
Yeah. And we get that next weekend.
We do. Yeah, that does come out next weekend, and that's when I'll have to look at the cards and see how I can build something out of it. Hopefully I can. If not, then I don't know. Maybe I'll just play green white like you guys and do a lot better than I have been. No, I kid. I'm having a lot of fun with the unicorn control deck that I'm playing, but definitely needs a little bit of tweaks, I think, to be at that level of competition I need it to be at. Anyway, that's my rambling about my week. So why don't we just go ahead and move on to the main topic? So let's go over each of the color combinations that we have so far. So right now, as I'm sure everybody's aware of, the 4 colors that we have access to before STO5 drops is white, blue, red, and green. They all have their own kind of personalities and archetypes and pillars that these decks play with. And you really, like, when you put 2 of them together and kind of fuse these play styles together, you get a whole different kind of breed of how you go about these decks. Just because the deck has green doesn't mean it necessarily does this one specific thing that green's known for. If it's supported by another color, it could be a whole different play style. So we want to talk about that today, and kind of how these colors complement each other and what aspects of those colors kind of get brought out in these decks that we see. So we're going to start with Astral here. He's going to start us off with the blue-green color combination. The decks, the meta decks that are in it, and kind of how they tend to play. So yeah.
So kind of going off what you said, just because a deck has a certain color in it doesn't necessarily mean that it plays the same. I know here on the podcast we talk a lot about how I like to play a green-white build. That is my personal preference, but I wanted to talk a bit about a blue-green build. It plays much differently than you would expect, considering what white-green itself does. Now, with the blue-green, it's got some unique dynamics here that, are interesting to see when played in tournaments. I've noticed we have decks like the 1 Year War aggro deck. That one is really good at pinging. It, of course, as the name implies, aggro. And then something interesting that it can do is rest unit. Now, this is pretty unique in the sense that, when being played against more controlling decks, say it's going up against blockers, you have that resting. Say if there's like a Zowart and you were able to rest it and then you can ping it for 2 damage, you've just got rid of one of your opponent's blockers. So it has an element of control there, but it's that aggro style. So you're going hard at your opponent. You're going to do as much damage to them as possible, as quickly as possible. It's pretty nice to be able to play it. I haven't play tested it much, but when I have play tested it, I have seen that, there's some combinations that are different in here that you wouldn't expect. There are a couple cards. I don't know if we want to go over them.
Yeah, we could talk about some of the key pieces, well, you were mentioning like the resting mechanic is so important for clearing those blockers for that turn that you need to punch in. You're going to get that from the blue side of the deck, where the green supports more of that like aggressive play style that complements that clearing of the way.
Gives that high maneuver with like the Char Aznable, the really key piece in that deck pilot wise.
Yeah, there are some cards. So why don't you talk about just like a couple of the key pieces of the cards that really play into those philosophies that those colors are doing for that deck.
So So of course with this deck, it is an aggro deck. So you want to get cards out quick, you want to get them out fast, and you want to be able to do damage. A couple notable ones that I think are there would be like the Zaku 2, where on attack it gets +2 AP. So usually it only does 1, but when it's attacking, it does a total of 3. That can do a lot of damage really quickly. It caught me off guard the first couple times I went up against it. Another one would be the Gun Tank, where it like deals 1 damage on deploy to a rested unit. Char, he's one of the key pieces in this deck build, and you know, it's an interesting mechanic on Link. It gives high maneuver. That is something that, seeing in a green-white deck, you have high maneuver with the Wing Gundam Zero. It's not blockable, so it's able to do damage without being blocked. So you don't have to necessarily rest a unit if it has that high maneuver.
Yeah,
Now,
that's true.
I don't know, are there any kind of cards that you guys would think are notable in this deck?
Yeah, kind of just going over the stats of some of the cards that you mentioned for the audio listeners. Of course, like in post, I'll throw up the image of the cards. But for those who aren't looking at it, Zaku is that. I believe it's a level. I'm going straight off the top of my head. Either level 1 or 2. It costs 1. I know that. It's a 1/2, and then gets +2 on the attack, as you mentioned. Super good for clearing out that EX space. Like just
Absolutely.
super early. 1 unit, it's insanely costed on the attack. Of course, it's going to die on the crackback with like very little repercussions, dealing 1 back while it's rested, but it's done its job if you cleared the EX space. And then, the support from the ping just kind of helps clear out the low level blockers. If you have 2 gun tanks or something, and the Zowert is rested, it has to be rested, right? For it to be pinged by a gun tank?
Gun
Okay.
tank, yep.
Yeah.
Typically, if a Zowert's being rested, it's not going to survive it. But just say it does for some reason, being able to ping it. You're resting it because of all the blue support that you have in it, duh. So, rest the Zowert and then just ping it down. Amuro Ray, just another like piece that's in that deck. That's the blue
Very key
rest
piece.
support. Yeah, it's huge. It is so often just like, especially with a Link, that is essentially 2 attacks that your opponent wasn't expecting. Because if you look at blockers, you have to think of them as like, this is an attack I have to deal with to either kill that blocker or rest it, or make sure it's rested for going in for attack. So when you link like a Grandpa Gundam with a Mura Ray, you're not only resting a blocker, but then you get to attack with it. So that's essentially
And it gets
2
repair.
attacks. And then it gets repair, yeah. So if you're not going for base, you can clear out something with it. And then, of course, the LR Grandpa Gundam is +1 to AP for everybody. So everything's just that much more gross to deal with.
I think I like, when it comes to this deck, the fact that it lets you grab its Link pilot back from the trash. Char links with his Zaku in here, his Gelgoog, as well as a few other pieces, and anything he links with gets high maneuver.
It really is kind of a linchpin of the deck.
It's a key piece that you kind of need in there.
Yep.
So
I do feel like they've stretched it almost too thin, in my opinion.
Sorry?
Why do you feel that way?
Just because you have 3 to 4 units that you're running 4 of, so 12, maybe 16, that all rely on 1 pilot, and there's no other Chars in the game.
Do you think we'll be seeing any in the future, or?
Maybe. We'll
like
see. I think GDO2 will determine it, because with GDO2 we're supposed to get Zeta and Armoru Rays in that. So I feel like if we get a new Armoro Ray pilot, a duplicate pilot, then I feel like it's possible for the Char to come out.
I think technically Gulag links with Char, but his mechanic is you discard a certain card. I think it's a Zeon card. You discard a type of card, and you just bring out any pilot that's a Zeon that's level like 4 or higher or something like that. So it can technically, but you're getting Char, let's be honest. Because that link in the high maneuver and the plus AP is just too good to pass up.
Oh yeah, and another interesting thing with the blue-green deck that I have noticed as well is some people like to throw in Shenlongs to have that breach effect. I used to run a breach effect in my deck when it came to green-white. Breach is just so utilized when you do it properly, being able to ping the damage on people's bases or kick out a shield. Now, one thing that I had learned recently, I wasn't entirely sure of. I was in the middle of a card game, and Daxi, you actually pointed it out. You can't take somebody's life with breach. That's something to keep in mind. So if you do have those breach units, you have to attack the player directly to take game.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's something to keep in mind when and if you are running the Shenlong build, make sure to attack directly. But it is a good way to kind of clear out shields or hit their base for some life points.
For sure,
So,
it's always good to have a 2-for-1 in your effects. You're just getting a lot more out of your cards. So anybody else have
now,
any more? Yeah, any thoughts about blue green before I move on?
yeah, no, I was gonna say on to you.
Oh yeah, perfect. Thanks. Thanks for passing it over to me. So in theme of kind of what we're playing, I have chosen to talk about the white blue combination. This seems to be the most control style of color combinations that we see. It is in the fashion of Gundam TCG, so it's not how a lot of controls played in other card games or anything like that. So it's not a very typical control. What it is stalling until you can have card advantage over your opponent. It is playing bigger units, or it's playing smaller units to stall until you can play those bigger units and get more advantage out of a single card by spending more resources on it. Obviously, getting a bigger unit later on. So it plays differently from like green white, which typically is ramp. Is how you get your big guys out. This one is I'm just going to stall out the game until you get there. Kind of tailoring your hand with the overflowing affections. You have a lot of blocker mechanics. That's basically what white brings to the table. And then the blue half of that, rather than resting, you're going to be playing a lot of the tempo cards. So like the resells that are going to put pressure on their units or their base. You're going to have the RX-78, the Grandpa Gundam. That's going to do the same thing that they do in blue-green, which is rest a unit and swing in for a bunch. Has that repair so you can start clearing off their board again, just keeping on that theme of I'm making sure you're running out of resources while I'm keeping up with my
and it
cost of
boosts all your units too by an AP.
Yeah, and then of course, yeah, is always good to have a boost in AP. And he does a board-wide anthem effect essentially with that one. So that's pretty much what white-blue does. The notable decks in there that I've seen so far is obviously the Freedom Blocker, which is the linchpin card of that is Freedom Gundam, as the name implies. Again, that's a very high-costed card, so you're just stalling out the game until you can get there, and that card is insanely oppressive when just trying to close out the game, or even catch up, because you're trading upwards normally with that -2 AP effect that he has. Yeah, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, with the Freedom Blockers that you mentioned, it is one of the hardest decks that I personally have gone up against when trying to take control of a board, just because of how much blue-white does control.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a very difficult matchup when coming up against it. And then you have to play your cards right. Like, one misplay can be the difference between a win or a loss.
For sure. Especially when every single card becomes that much more valuable when you're playing a game of attrition that white-blue wants to be playing with their opponent.
One thing I noticed about the Freedom Blocker deck actually yesterday that I've grown to respect on it is when you get a board out of like 2 or even 3 freedoms. At the end, I was playing actually last night with some players over in Japan. When you have those out, the effect is when you pair a pilot to this unit or any white unit, which freedom is, it's -2 to a unit for a turn. And so when you have 3 freedoms out, and let's say you pair Stoletta and a rebuild, a lot of people are running that right now, and that's a -6 AP to anything on board for a whole turn.
Yeah. If you're at a point where you have 3 Freedom Gundams, that's I don't think things are going to be too great for you if you're staying. That's got to be every single one that they play, right? I couldn't imagine they would cram a 4th one in there.
It was an interesting build to say the least, without getting too off the topic too much.
Yeah.
But it was 4 freedom,
oh wow,
4 rebuild, and 4 Grandpa, as well as like 4 L Strike and then the L Strike engine in it as well.
Okay, so they were just going hardcore into like the attrition game, the rebuild, bringing back a command. Again, card
Very
advantage.
sparing with the overflowings, used the rebuild effects to just only bring back Show of Resolve and keep their hand at always like 8 cards. I don't think is what it dropped below at one point in time.
Okay.
Is
Yeah, that's an interesting build of that deck. It would have to have some sort of like early game stabilization too to prevent it from getting just hosed by aggro. But yeah, if you're
Yeah.
able to outlast that and make it to playing 3 freedoms, sorry, not freedoms. Yeah, no freedoms. Sorry, I'm getting Gundams mixed up because again, I don't watch the shows. But the other white blue, moving on, is the Unicorn Tempo deck. So again, on theme of stalling out the game with a bunch of blockers in the early game, playing a little bit of tempo with like the Ale Strikes, bouncing cards to hand, while also being a blocker. And then again, stalling out that game until you get to the ability to either play the Food Unicorn, which is the unicorn mode unicorn that gets sacrificed to the destroy mode unicorn, and that card is an absolute beast. Especially when linked with Banneker, you draw a card and then you have 2/2 on top of its base stats. It's insanely good. But again, you're stalling out to get to that late game to play it, and that's kind of what white blue does. Yeah.
Unicorn was the first deck I actually started playing when it came to the blue white. That's the deck I started out playing. So to me, it's kind of like I have to pay homage to it. Like, you know, it has its control, kind of like you were saying with that stall feature, and then very quickly being able to swap out we call it the Food Unicorn, and it definitely has its place here, and there's a reason it is in the meta.
Mm-hmm.
So
just real quick, the destroy mode is a 5/4 base, so it is a 7/6 with.
Gotcha.
But
7/6 with manager.
Yeah.
I think as someone who likes playing Unicorn Control, the thing I like about it is how oppressive it is that late game. If you get a good board state out, your strongest thing you got to worry about is the wing 0. But even that, once you have your Unicorn out, you just crash them into the wing 0s and it takes them out as soon as they go for a shield. And so with the oppression on it, I feel it's like the little guy who comes up from nothing and does nothing, and then he becomes great all of a sudden, and then
Yeah,
don't know where I was going with that.
no, I get that. I get what you're saying. If I can complete your thought, it's if you can get to the late game, you're gonna have the glow up that you deserve for struggling with your little blockers in the beginning of the game.
And I do feel like that is so far the story for white blue in that color combination.
Yeah, that's typically how I see my deck play. If I can get to that late game, I'm good. I'm happy. It's going up against those aggro decks that can take you out before you have a chance to really stabilize and build your board and get those pieces that you need. That's when that deck is a little hurting. But other than that, it's a good deck. It's also very fun if you like the control that Gundam tends to go in when it comes to control decks. But yeah, any last thoughts before we move on to red white?
White blue forever.
All right. Well, we have a white blue fanboy. I can respect.
I gotta disagree.
Well, you're our resident green white player, so that's fair.
I definitely am.
All right.
Interesting matchup between the two for sure.
It is. Well, with that, let's move on to red white. So Daxi, why don't you take us off?
Yeah. So I'm gonna be talking about red white today, and that is gonna be mostly how we're seeing that played is with Zaft. It's gonna be our coordinator mid range there. Red white, how I look at that from a color perspective is you do have the red support features, as well as the ping features from it. And then you're kind of clashing out with the white for that bit of early game control. With that being the case, I think while you do have the overflowing affection, this deck can be good in certain matchups. I think right now though we're just not seeing enough sustainability with it. Whether that be not enough card draw or just not enough end game pawns to go ahead and wrap that game up. I mean, it's a very I high card diversity. You're not really running a play set of things. You're running like 3 different bases on top of the Zaft base, and you're just running 1 copy of their other bases, and it's so temperamental. You're really counting on that deck for your Justices to come out that late game, where you get that copy of it as a blocker, the blocker clone, as well as that Buster setup for that support on your Zaft units. Um, those cards rely on being that support unit too, and getting up to 5 AP. And a lot of these Zaft units, as we're seeing right now, are like the 3s, the 2s, some are even 1s. I mean, I think your best combination with that is the Legao. I think it's like a 2 AP. I could be wrong on that. I
I
haven't
believe
played red
so.
white in a
Let me look it up here.
long minute. Yeah. But while you're doing that, I think it will become meta at some point. Just as we get more sets out, GDO2 and possibly GDO3. I just think right now, um, with it being the case, it pushes, but it doesn't shove.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so going back to Legao's stats, it is a level 3, cost 2, 2/3 base, and then on the attack, if it has 5 or more AP, so pumped up from Buster Gundam or some of the other support
Yep,
cards that deck
exactly. You
has,
pumped it with the Buster.
choose one enemy unit on the attack, deal 2 damage to it, and links with any Zaft trait, and is a Zaft himself, itself.
And so I think it's really great with that red ping engine like red does. But I think it's just right now still too temperamental and
Yeah,
too reliant on certain key pieces for it.
getting up to
Yeah.
5 as the condition, 5 AP or more as a condition for it doing the thing that you want it to do, is just a big ask for a lot of these cards. Really relying on Buster Gundam with that support 3, especially with Legao. And then if you're already at 5 AP, you're going to be doing damage. You're going to be doing a lot of stuff that you want it to do anyway. So it's kind of like it wins more when you're winning already, and then you're struggling if you're not, and you don't have those pieces
Yeah.
to support each other. I personally, I don't love the color combination specifically as much, just for that reason. That's because the main deck that you're playing is the coordinator deck, and it just doesn't get there for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people started out in the beginning playing like a red base when we were back doing starter deck
Well, because
stuff.
Seed
Like
is
it
such a
just
good deck, starter deck. It's like my favorite. So.
yeah. If we were just playing the pre-constructed decks, I know that's your personal favorite.
Oh yeah, for
I know I
sure.
was playing heroic beginnings, but with with this too, like I've seen some differences in red white when playing against it. Like I swear there have been red whites where I've gone up against every possible, like combination of sword Gundam. So like it's been crazy to see the different combinations in that deck.
Right. Um,
Yeah. But
yeah.
with that being said, do we have any final thoughts on red white?
Nope. I think we all. Well, personally, I don't. I think I've expressed kind of how I feel about it. I think you're right. I think there's a lot of room to grow in it, in the red white color combination. Maybe when we start seeing more sets come out. I mean, we're already starting to see a lot of the white spoilers moving forward,
Yeah.
and how it's kind of moving into an even more aggressive stand. Maybe we'll have more AP support in white, and then red white will kind of have that, like, well, you get the support from that you need to make this deck work from
Hmm.
both red and white. Or you do all this work to set up to get an AP 5+ unit. White allows you to attack with it again, so you get a second bite of that apple. After doing all that
I
setup.
agree.
Just things like that. There's definitely room to grow. There's definitely potential in it, but right now, it's not it. Personally speaking.
I
And I would
agree.
agree.
Okay. All right.
With that being said, Astral, you know what? Why don't we talk about your favorite color combination?
Hey, let's go. I know we were just talking about like pre-constructed decks,
Yeah.
but my favorite, as we all know, green white, 100%. I have been originally I hopped on my blue white, and then I decided, it's time to try out my favorite color as well as what's turned into being my favorite deck, the green white deck. Now, green white has a bunch of different possibilities in my eyes. A lot of people say it likes to play itself. It's very kind of straightforward, but you got to learn the mechanics and kind of learn the tips and tricks behind the deck. So, of course, first green white deck that came out was the green white ramp. This deck was, you know, meta for a reason. It allowed you to ramp these resources before your opponent so you could start throwing out those higher leveled cards before your opponent. And that allowed you to do more damage sooner. This was super, super effective in the beginning until, things started coming out like the aggro decks. Then it was kind of falling behind because you'd have to ramp to play these higher levels, but your opponent had these smaller cards that could ping at you and kind of take out a couple of shields, and you'd have to stabilize about mid game instead of end game. And it made the dynamic there a bit harder. That's where we kind of saw some more things coming in, like the wing blocker and the Shenlong builds. Those were super interesting because with the blocker build, I saw somebody completely take out wing gun to bird mode. Um, Instead, they were just running blockers, and this was effective in stopping that aggro deck, allowing you to stabilize in the beginning and hold on till you got to the late game where you could eventually throw out your Wing Gundam Zero and board wipe. I've had that happen a couple of times. It's always fun when it does, but it's also super nerve wracking because it takes a lot of concentration. And I played a bunch of different variants of this deck. The other one I wanted to talk about was the Shenlong. The Shenlong, with that, you have your breach mechanics, you have your high maneuver, you have your blockers. It allows you to go a bit more aggro than the previous decks we've talked about, where you're a bit more on defense and ramp. With this deck, you got to go a bit more aggro. You want to take out opponents' unit.
So what do you
And with
so to interject here real quick, just to bring it back on theme just a tiny bit, what do you think each of those colors are bringing to these decks and playstyles? So like
Yeah.
what is the green bringing there? What's the white bringing there, and how are they complementing each other?
Okay. So yeah. So in each deck, it's kind of a bit different, like the variants
Mhm.
of these decks. With the green, you have the ramp ability that I've talked about. With the Shenlong, you have the breach.
Mhm.
Now with the white, that's where you get the blocker ability. It allows you to kind of control a bit more. I know
Gives you that
not
breathing
gonna go
room while
into
you like set up
yeah,
your ramp and all that. Yeah.
I'm not gonna go into too
And
much
card draw.
detail because I'm experimenting with it myself, but a bounce ability that white has brought to my deck, where I'm able
Okay.
to bounce opponents' cards a bit sooner than I think they'd be expecting. It's not something I'm seeing too mainstream yet. Um, that bounce ability with the white, that blocking ability as well, it really allows for a bit more control. Whereas with the green, you're either doing the ramp to get to the point where you can go aggro, or you're going aggro and you're, targeting units of an opponent. That is kind of the dynamic between the two. You have to utilize both in order to stabilize or control before you go aggro. Now, there is a point, I know, Daxi, you and we've talked about it, where you have to learn when to shift your deck from defense to aggro. That is a
Yeah.
key point in playing green white. If you mistime that, it can cost you the game. Now,
Yep.
it does take a lot of practice, takes a lot of time. You got to get used to it, and you got to get used to the timing there. But it's a delicate balance between defense and aggro. And that's why I like green white so much, is you walk that fine line and then go for it.
Yeah, I like
So
that. I like how both colors complement each other well. Green is going to be your end game, and the pieces helping you get to that end game. With the cars that you're talking about, like that Wing Zero and the Death Scythe and all those big boys. White gives you that breathing room that you need. I never considered playing around with bounce that white tends to have, but that totally makes sense because
mhm.
you don't really care about killing their units in the beginning or destroying their units in the beginning. You're going to be doing that later on with those big units that you have out. So white allowing that breathing room and bouncing and causing that sort of
And
like tempo imbalance, that's really smart.
you have to be careful with the bounce, though. I will say that, because if you bounce a link unit back, they can throw it back out and attack. They may
For
have to
sure.
use resources to put it out, but again, be careful. That's why I'm saying I'm experimenting with it.
Yeah.
It's not a proven thing yet.
At the end of the day, bouncing a link unit, you're still resource sinking them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a
At the
fair
very
point.
least.
And you could be resetting their life too, which
Yep.
is never fun to do.
That's
True.
something to be careful of. If you throw out your Wind Gundam Zero and then you bounce something in late game,
Yeah,
it could cost you the game. You got to be extremely careful there.
fair
Yeah.
enough.
100%.
In theme with what we've been doing so far, any last thoughts about the the white green color combo?
I just personally, I'm going to say I think it's such a versatile deck. You have so many options. If you're thinking about getting into Gundam, I do recommend starting with either white blue or white green. Personally, I like my white green. It has that versatility to, for a beginner, have that breathing room, have that experimental like availability to see how your play style is in the game. It's really good for people to jump in and get a hang of it
That's
before
fair.
jumping into the deep end.
I have to say I don't think I've seen two green white decks that were the same. Like congruently
Yeah.
the same, like the same deck list exactly, unless of course it's like a net deck. But like you're right, there's so much variation in the amount of pieces that you can include in them. You can play one with bird mode or without. I've seen it work both ways with Shenlong Gundam and without. And the pieces that you take out, you can just swap in for something else. And yeah, you're right. It is a very versatile color combination. That deck itself is not like a deck by itself. It uses similar pieces for like the main pieces, but everything in between. You're making a sandwich. You have all these different ingredients that you can put into it, but you're still going to end up with a green white sandwich, pretty much, if that
Yep.
makes any sort of sense.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of it for green white. Thank you. It's my favorite, but moving forward.
That's why we let you talk about it. We knew that you would have a lot to say.
Yep.
Okay, well, I'll just go ahead and move on to the next color. I'll be talking about that one. It's red green. So as we were talking about, green seems to have this like ramp and large unit pillar, but the other side is the aggressive side of it. With that like Zaku 2 that we were talking about earlier, or basically the whole pillar of how blue green plays, we take that aggressiveness and we add the aggression from red. So red green as a color combination is your extremely like pure aggro color combination. Your plan, if you're playing the game on the 7th turn playing red green, you're not going to be a very happy camper.
Yeah.
It's
Not at
gonna
all.
fizzle out.
Yeah, the absolute lack of card filtering. Green has some card filtering with like that one academy base that's green, that you look at two cards, one on top, one on bottom. I forgot the name of it. It's the
Let me try and pull it up real quick.
okay, thank you. It's from the STO2. It's the academy base. Anyway, that's some selection, and then like you have a DOP that looks at the top card. You can put it on top or bottom. So you have a little bit of card selection, but what you don't have is sustainability. You don't have card draw. So you fizzle insanely fast, especially with playing these like 1-cost units, 2-cost units. You are just mag dumping your hand every single turn you can, filling out your board, hoping that you just overwhelm them before they have a chance to like stabilize. Clearing things is not really your main concern. You're playing like things like close combat to get rid of the Zowort. Pretty much anything that gets in your way of just going for the win. Similar to
I
how
completely agree.
yeah, similar to how blue-green plays. Your main mechanic is going to be high maneuver, and the main card that's going to give that is your char. So while Gelgoog doesn't give you card advantage, he does replace a card from your hand with char or another pilot, but let's be honest, again, it's always going to be Char that you're looking for.
Yeah.
That high maneuver.
Offering that high maneuver, offering that AP boost helps clear out the bases. Because again, you're going for the throat every single time with this color combination. You don't have time to dilly-dally dealing with their board nearly as much as any other color combination that we have in the game so far.
And looking at, you were saying, look at the top card and put it to the top or bottom. I think you were thinking of the DOP, the 1/1 cost.
That is the DOP.
Red green.
DOP does do that. I am thinking of, it is for sure a base. I'm gonna look it up now because it's gonna bother me until I do it. I know I have already pulled it up in post and posted it. So viewers of the show have already.
But yeah, they've already seen it, but that's okay. They're here along for the side quest.
Exactly. Yeah. It is the St. Gabriel Institute.
Oh, I've
Thank
had that
you.
used against me.
Thank you. Yeah, I knew it. Yeah. So the stats of that for the listeners: level 2, cost 2. It's a 0/5 base. Burst deploy this card as always, and then the yada yada. Add one of your shields to your hand. But then look at the top 2 cards of your deck. Return one of them to the top and one of them to the bottom. So a little bit of card selection there. You're digging for the card that you want to draw.
I will say it does remind me of Overflowing Affection. You have 2 cards, discard 1.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more searching your deck rather than bringing cards. So.
Yeah, you're not really gaining card advantage. In fact, when you play this card, you're ripping a card out of your hand. But what you are doing is setting up your next draw, hoping to get that piece that you need at that moment, because you are not thinking very many turns ahead with red-green. You are thinking like, next turn I'm going to draw this card, I'm going to mag dump my hand and just try and go for the kill every single turn.
It is so aggro.
It's so aggro, and it is a little weak in my opinion because of that.
I agree.
Because you are so single-minded on your game plan that your one thing is I can punch really hard but only once, and if I don't take you out with that one punch, then I have nothing backing me up against that. So for that, decks now in the meta are just too good at stabilizing after getting hit kind of badly. You're not going to keep tempo as well as other decks. So it doesn't get there for me. It doesn't strike me as like a viable tactic right now. Bandai traditionally too, looking at a lot of their meta decks, they tend to steer away from super fast aggressive decks in their gameplay as a whole. I think their philosophy is they want people to enjoy the game and not just like sit down and then have to move on to the next game because the game is so fast. So maybe we'll see some support for this kind of game style. Maybe we'll see something for let's make this deck a little better by giving it a little bit more sustainability in the mid to later game. But the philosophy of these 2 colors coming together, I don't think it'll ever be a true late game deck or color combination.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
There's just too many counters at this point for it. So
for sure.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on red green, or are we going to keep it similar to the theme of the colors and keep it quick and fast?
Quick and fast and hope it works.
Yep. All right. Well, I guess with that, Daxi, why don't you just finish this off with the last color combination?
Yeah, we're gonna finish this off with the red-blue. The 2 colors that each have their own ping mechanic. You have your red for your bit of aggression. You have your blue for a bit of your rested ping and control. Most recently, we've been seeing is obviously Newtype ping in there, as well as Newtype tempo, some more mid-game range as well, where you're running a bit more of your higher, more Banshees, more Kshatriyas, and all that with the Maria Cruises. Then also the Gundams and Armorus as well, for that bit of control. With this deck, when it comes to the red-blue coloration, I feel like they take the control aspect of blue and it incorporates really well with the reds. Like, I feel like red's a very good, almost if you compare it to Magic, like a burn mechanic, burning HP, while blue is really about, controlling where it goes. And that's why I do think it complements each other really well. It's a very strong aggression deck. to the point where it is definitely meta if you cannot block it early on and wait for yourself to stabilize, and crash your units till late game. But if you don't do that, you don't control the game. They control the game and they'll take it from you in the blink of an eye. Otherwise, if you can go, I say it's Fallout is against those blocker heavy builds, to be honest. You hold on to a Zowart and a Lifrith, and when the board presence gets high, you toss those out. You're sitting all right for about a turn or two, to crash into stuff and take
Mhm.
stuff out. Not to mention with Wing Zero being a thing, especially and being so prevalent in this meta, it just consistently wipes everything on the board, unless maybe a Banshee's out there or a Kshatriya is out there that's taken no damage.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do
Blue
want to
does
say
have a little bit of burn with the gun cannon, but yeah, red is really where you're getting your ping off.
another honorable mention would be the Angsha, especially when dealing with blocker units.
Mhm.
Having that one ping, but having the higher health and AP, that one does tend to pop up a little bit. And I've noticed,
Yeah.
even though it's not a late game by any, that's kind of where you do have to push hard and push quick while still having control, like you were saying.
Yeah, I think your late game is your Kshatriya, your Banshee, Unicorn. For the red blue decks, you're typically playing the Merida Cruz Banshee combo because that's the only colors that you can really play that combo in. So of course everyone's going to try and make that work. So yeah, I think it's just stronger than the red green just because that blue offers the support that red needs to be able to be aggressive. The sustainability with the card draw, the late game units, or allowing you to have that time to get to the later game and play those late game units for sure.
Absolutely.
All right. Any other thoughts with red blue? It's
I
very
think
annoying to
just
Fun
play
deck to
against. I'll
play.
say it's very annoying to play against. That's my thought.
yeah,
I do not
I will
like
say
playing
it's fun to
against it.
play, annoying to play against.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
yeah.
um, okay, well, cool. I think we're
With
all
that
in
being said,
agreement that
should we move over to the group discussion?
yeah, so just a couple of questions for the group after we've talked about these color combinations and kind of what they do. How what are some mechanics that you would like to see introduced to sort of combat really oppressive colors that we see, color combinations that we see, or maybe boost up the weaker ones? I know we're talking about like red green and kind of what it needs to be a little better, but are there any that stand out to you and be like, this is a little too much, or maybe we need this in this
Uh,
color to be a little better or something?
hot take: white.
Okay.
With spoilers we've seen for GDO2 coming out, we did get the release of and I can't believe this is a rare of all things, the aerial rebuild out of that, where
Yeah.
it is high maneuver for
Yeah.
a blocker based colors that we've seen. And then if you have 4 command cards in trash, whether it be your overflowing affections, your pilot effects, your pilot commands, then it gains blocker too. So you have a high maneuver
I
blocker.
I'm really
yeah,
excited for Soletta to finally be a playable like
Oh yeah.
main piece in a deck. I know some people are trying to make rebuild work. Yeah, that card is pretty nutty. I'm excited to see that
We
deck for
also got
sure.
out new blockers for it too, 3/2s that can attack the shields that are 2 costs.
Hmm. So
now there
So
what do you think that does for white? Do you think it pushes it into like this more like it's a fork in the road because it's kind of doing an aggressive thing with high maneuver, but also gives it block, which is defensive. I know with support like with
I
Archangel, it allows you to do both, but
I
um,
see it taking over the format instead of the L Strike package with Kira.
mhm,
I don't think that'll totally go away, but I do think as we're moving into other colors like purple and other mechanics coming out like suppression and all that, it's going more to Academy and that spell slinging combo, making sure what cards are on your trash are important, that they're in your trash and you're trying to put them in there.
yeah,
And not only are you focused on your hand and what's on the board, but you're also focused on what's getting destroyed and what you're tossing into your trash and all of it mattering.
you're saying white is
Yeah.
gonna we need more aggression in white. I think red and green both just need more sustainability support. But I
Yeah,
guess we'll
I
move
agree.
on to purple. So as we mentioned, we kind of started talking about a little purple. But what do you think it's going to do to complement the other colors that we already have?
I don't think it's gonna pair it very well with green right
Okay.
off the bat,
Why do you think that?
which is kind of a disappointment. Well, we've seen the mechanics that, and we've talked about it today, that the green brings to the table.
Hmm.
It does not have enough defense built into it to be paired with that purple.
Okay.
Um, I think that we would need to see like like a potential link with a green unit to make it a blocker, to make it a viable option, or like with the white having that blocker, being able to damage itself, and then even with a blue purple build, you'd be able to deal damage to yourself, have the repair to heal back up, and still get that extra AP buff.
Yeah.
And so we just don't have it quite yet with green. I'm hoping to see it in the future, but at this time, I think purple white and purple blue would be ideal.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. With the purple blue, you have the repair effects. You also have a bit of control that they splashed in and kind of teased in purple with this STO5. You have the Gunnison rebake that's linked with Akihiro Atland that we got revealed, and like that is a level 4/3 cost. With that, that's a 3/4, and it links with his 1/1 pilot. But when destroyed, you get to choose one enemy unit with AP 4 or less and rest it. So I think that could pair really well with Freedom, to where you're taking their 6 cost units and you're crashing this guy into it and making sure it gets rested. I feel like that could go ahead and take out some wing zeros, quite possibly, or just some regular wings and avoid them breaching again. Um, I think it has a nice thing there, and it's Link Pilot too. The 1 AP, 1 HP, level 3, 1 cost. His effect was like during your turn, when this unit destroys an opponent's unit with battle damage, choose one level 2 or lower Tekkadan, because that's going to be, I guess, one of the new traits coming out with purple unit card from your trash and add it to your hand. So you also get a recycle unit every time you're doing battle damage. I think having that with the safety net of the blockers is going to allow for a lot more backdoor shenanigans. And same with the repair, because it is a lot of pinging and your HP to do that. I think the repair effects, if purple, we see it go and take the effect of where you're pinging multiple units and not just purple unit,
Hmm.
but pinging more of your own, then I do think the repair will shine through. But that's just my personal opinion when it comes to purple.
Yeah. I guess my thoughts. You're right. I'm going to be a little controversial or against the opinions of a lot of how we feel about green. Depending on how strong removal is in the purple that we've seen,
Hmm.
we have some for like low level stuff. Let's say we get more support in that sort of pillar of gameplay. Um, if we have that, you don't need blockers if they don't have units. You know, um,
That's true.
Hmm.
if you are taking out their aggressive units, then who cares if you don't have blockers, right? That could
So
offer the aggression side of green that we've seen, complementing with we're using blue with green in that aggressive play, um, using blue to tap down their creatures or to rest their creatures, their units. Um, but if we
so
have purple
I
instead,
have a
just removing
question for
units,
you.
yeah, yeah.
When we talk about purple green,
Hmm.
are you thinking more so like the green aggro
Yes.
or like wing side of green?
Yes, I think yes, the first one. I think we are looking at the green side of the aggressive side of green when pairing
Okay.
with purple. Just because purple seems like a very aggressive color, you kind of want your units to getting in the fray, getting hurt. That powers them
Hmm.
up. So you're gonna want to be attacking, clearing their board however you can, pinging your own units to ping them with that one
And I'd
pilot.
have to disagree with both of y'all and really toss my some heat into the frying pan. I
Okay.
don't think it'll pair good with green at all, whether it's wing or aggro. Because like you said, Ursa,
Mhm.
it is about slightly hurting your units, and we do have the link cards that do it themselves with purple. But with that being the case, all the cards we've seen that have those effects are level 5 or higher. And so
Okay.
I think it's just too high of a curve that wing is unviable with this color.
I think wing is unviable. I don't think wing is the direction you go in with green.
Yep, at
I
all.
think we're going with the aggressive side of green. But I
Yep.
guess
I
we'll see.
think maybe
You know.
if you get some maybe in like these future sets, those lower cost like level 4 and then lower, like maybe even a level 2 breach, even if it's just a breach 1, and have run a bunch of breach where you're
Yeah.
just crashing those units, then I could see that giving you enough stall time for
Breach with
purple.
suppression sounds pretty, you know,
But
I
I
pretty
do feel like we need
aggro.
some low cost breach for that.
I
Okay.
did have a thought, and I know we're talking about purple, which is about to release, but in the
Mhm.
future, like you said, there are some new sets coming out, like Jeekwooks. If we're talking about purple, do you mind me asking you guys, how do you think Jeekwooks is going to pair with purple?
I
I
don't
don't think
watch
it
the
is.
anime, so I don't know. I don't know anything about the lore of G-Quacks or anything.
Um, as seeing the reveals for the deck itself, it looks like it's more focused, in my opinion, personally, for that more red green aggro side, almost like the char in a sense, like Asmodable. You know what I mean? Because
Mhm.
I'm like right here, I have the green pilot for it, the Siju. During link attack, if you have a clan unit in play, look at the top card of your deck, return it to the top or bottom of your deck.
What's the level
So you got a little
cost?
bit. It's a 4 level 1 on that. It's a
Okay.
1 AP plus 2 for the Sioju. And then when it comes to the Gundam, the red Gundam, which is a green, it's a level 4 3, and it is a breach 1. So I mean it does have that, but it says attack choose 1 to 2 friendly clan units, they get AP plus 2. So I would say the only way I'd see that pairing well is if the green from that clan trait is all low level breach.
Okay.
I
Well,
would
If
agree.
that makes sense.
Not trying to jump ahead too much. Sure, we'll talk about it in future episodes, but
mhm,
yeah, I do think purple is going to be an interesting dynamic. So
for sure. Yeah. Um, well, I guess we'll see. So time will only tell kind of what the meta shapes up to
Yeah.
be and everything. So I guess that's a good segue into our listeners. What have you pilots seen at your locals? The color combinations and what kind of decks they're playing with them. Do you have a favorite color combination? And if so, tell us why. Let us know in the
I'm
comments
curious to hear.
below this video. Just let us know. And while you're there, feel free to subscribe, hit the bell notification, do all the things that every single YouTube video tells you to do. You know what to do. But we would super appreciate it if you got that.
Uh,
Let's just do a shout out to our friends in the community now. So Daxter,
Yeah.
you wanna thank some of our friends?
Yeah, I want to say shout out to Eagles Nest for continually supporting us, as well as the card coop. Had a fun opportunity here this past week to go ahead and do my first ever commentary on a tournament.
How'd that
I
go?
was Shadowcast. It was actually I was so nervous at the beginning. I was like, I've never done this. Do I have the skills to commentate on people's gameplay, predict on decks, deck play, and all that? But it actually turned out to be really fun. I had a great time. It was fun talking to all the players afterwards, and also just seeing how everyone played all at the same time. And shout out to Risu the Squirrel. That's where you can go on YouTube to watch the live streams for that every Wednesday. For having me, and looking forward to doing more in the future with them.
I actually watched the shadow casting that you did. You did a good job. So
Hey, I appreciate it.
I think it's always nervous getting into something like that, but then once you get the flow of it, once you get comfortable, your
It goes
natural
pretty
instinct
smoothly.
and your natural like sort of game sense for this game just kind of takes over. And yeah, it honestly, you can react to people too, because like there's always something going on in those tournaments. um
Oh yeah,
it's
100%.
yeah,
very
and I
exciting
mean,
gameplay for sure.
I I was happy to play in that tournament while you were commentating on it. So it was fun, and being able to, once my matches were over, hop onto my computer and watch how you were commenting, and you did do a good job. So we look forward to more of that in the future. So
Absolutely, and hopefully, seeing about possibly having you guys on as well for commentating. Maybe
Yeah,
doing a
that'd be
collab
fun.
there.
I would be super down to shadowcast that. I know like the people at Eagles Next are great guys. So yeah, I think it'd be a lot of fun to kind of carve out some time to make an appearance there.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Well,
But with that being said, why don't we move on to our end step?
yeah, where we talk about something fun outside the world of Gundam TCG. So to prove that we have lives outside of our
What
podcast
is life?
and our new type arena. So I, as mentioned in the beginning of the podcast, have been away. I've been outside of Salt Lake City. I went back home to Seattle. Every single year during the beginning of the NFL season, my family has a fantasy football team or league that we all have together. And during the draft for that fantasy league, we usually throw like a big get together with the whole family, and we get like really nice food. It's like a whole day thing. We have like the my little nieces and nephews come over. I got to see my new niece for the first time. She is adorable and fussy at the same time, but it was great. It was great to go visit back home. My sister got a new puppy as well. So
Oh,
we'll have like an overlay of these photos that I can I'll show. But that was a lot of fun, and then I got to see some of my friends from the Pacific Northwest as well. So I had a lot of fun. Unfortunately, because of that, I did not have time to put in for the new type arena. But I
having a
am
life,
going to
having friends.
I am
What
going
are
to a
those?
thousand
Having
percent.
family. What?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna but I'm back in the swing of things. So I'm back now. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed the whole trip. But yeah, I'm back, and that's why we're here. So that's my fun thing. Astral, what about you? What have you been up to?
Oh man. So a couple different things. Of course, most of my time I'm putting towards playtesting and stuff like that, but I realized, I need to take a bit more time for myself. So I actually got together with a group of friends this past week and we started a D&D campaign. I know,
Nice.
major
Very nice.
nerd,
What
having
what
fun.
what class? What racing class are you?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So normally in real life, I'm a pretty big guy, like tall, heavy set. So I normally go with like a barbarian fighter and stuff like that. But this time I decided to switch things up. I've never really gone with magical casting like wizard, warlock, or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I decided, you know what? Let's try something new. And I decided to do a disembodied warlock.
Okay.
And the whole concept behind it is my character has lost his memories. So the DM, as I go through the campaign, helps unlock certain memories that unlock certain skills. So it's randomized.
Nice.
And yeah, it's pretty entertaining. My There's another person in my party who's a drunk paladin, which is hilarious. So the entire time he's like, "We're gonna run into this tavern," and I'm just like, "Oh, I don't know where I'm at, so I gotta follow you, I guess." And one of our other members wasn't able to join, so this week he'll be joining us, and he'll be introduced into the party, and from there it's just gonna be fun. And then another thing that I've been doing is I've started a couple of projects. I'm sure, as you guys have heard, I love my animals.
Uh-huh.
I This past week picked up a new tank that is it's a 36 by 18 by 18. So it's a 40-gallon tank. And I have some really cool Chinese cave geckos. So I'll be building them a custom bioactive enclosure. It's not going to be done this week. It's going to take me probably the course of a month and a half. I got to get it established and ready to go. So this is my first big project. So I'll be taking videos, pictures as it goes along, and maybe I could post a couple to our stories on our social media. And
For
That'll
sure.
be
if you guys
sweet.
want to check it out, you guys can.
Sweet.
Absolutely. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then,
Daxi, yeah.
yeah.
What about you?
When it comes to the world outside of Gundam, I have just been preparing for my trip, making sure all stuff is packed and in order, going with Astral here to our music festival in
Mhm.
Ohio here this weekend. We're literally doing a Newtype challenge, and then as soon as the Newtype challenge ends, we're walking out of the game, our LGS, jumping in the car,
24
and
hour
driving.
drive.
Yep, driving 24 hours straight to Ohio. So that should be
Nice.
something.
It's
Yeah.
gonna be fun.
We'll
But it'll be
we'll
a
make
kind
sure
of
to
full
post some
send.
fun
photos
time.
of that because that sounds like a lot of fun. I will not be going. That seems
Next
like
year,
more
next
more
year.
Daxi and Astral's cup of tea than mine, but it sounds fun. I'm glad that you guys are going to have fun going there.
Don't
But
worry. We'll abduct you and drag you to a music festival here one of these days.
maybe one of these days.
I
After
mean,
I've
we'll start with baby steps. We went to a rave this past week as well, and that was fun. So maybe we'll start them off small.
yeah.
So
We're tossing them into the deep end. I'm sorry. Learn how to swim.
No, it sounds like you guys are gonna have a lot of fun. Unfortunately, I totally understand the amount of preparation it goes into planning a trip and making sure everything goes smoothly. You know, you put in a little bit of work now for things to be good when you're ready to have fun. So that makes sense for sure.
Yep.
Well, that is going to be our episode 4 of Newtype Arena podcast.
Thanks for
We'll be
listening.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And thank you for all of our subscribers. Again, I believe we are at like 350 now subscribers. So we're just going to keep on climbing.
Yeah, we're doing great.
Yeah. Let's keep those numbers going up though. So if you have a second, we would very much appreciate if you, again, hit the subscribe button. And if you want to get notifications of our next videos and our next episodes, please hit the bell notification as well. We'll be back again very soon, diving deeper into gameplay, tournaments, the changing meta. As always, we have a couple of ideas for some not podcast videos that we want to throw up on this channel that we think we're really excited for. So we just need to carve out some time and make sure that happens and get those videos up for you all to enjoy.
We got a couple surprises coming up as well to add to that. We will be starting some YouTube shorts as well. So keep an eye out for those. You'll be able to find similar videos on our socials as well here coming up soon.
Yeah, we're really going to try and ramp up our game just every single week we have a chance to spend that extra time to just make our content better for you all. So with that being said, again, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time. So thanks.
See you next time, pilots.
Thank you, pilots.